Great.
Girls will always deserve to be for rejecting nice guys like me.
Everybody meet Rashid. Myself and a few other people have taken the liberty of introducing him to the Cobb County Police Department. Fuck around and find out, you little weirdo. Ladies of Marietta, Georgia, if you see a short man with small ears and a weird-shaped head named Rashid, be on the lookout. He's such a nice guy, though.
Great.
Girls will always deserve.
Why do you big females reject short men? Answer in the comments and share.
So I catfished a few chicks before in dating apps and they blocked me. No matter how nice you are, they will still reject you in a heartbeat.
Why do you females always reject the nice guys like me for them dope dealers out there?
Great.
Girls will always deserve to be for rejecting nice guys like me.
What do you females get from putting nice guys last? That's what I want to know. So not only do females put nice guys last, for some reason, they also put light-skinned men like me last. And that just can't happen.
See, these the motherfuckers we gotta get rid of. These the ones we gotta get rid of. He's telling you, like...
What in the extraterrestrial...
So one time I walked up...
Great.
Girls will always deserve to be for rejecting nice guys.
All right, so let me say this. I am his mother, and I've tried for years to tell him and encourage him to get therapy and help. I've told him multiple times that you have mommy issues. Me, I'm the mama. So you have issues with me, and you need to go to therapy and get those things worked out, because if you respect me and if you love me and don't have issues with me, then you wouldn't be attacking women for no reason at all. The only time for me, my personal belief, when a person such as him attacks women for no reason is because they have issues with their mother. Cool. But here's the thing. No one deserves that. No one deserves to be talked to any kind of way. No one deserves to be mistreated, threatened, feel unsafe, or anything like that because of his issues. His issues is his issues, and he needs to work on them. There is no excuse. Mental health is a very serious issue that we have going on, right? But he knows right from wrong. And you know right from wrong, and you know that this is wrong, and you continuing to do it, that means you're making a choice to do it. I have said multiple times, you're going to get your beat or you're going to get killed because of the stuff you be saying and how you be acting and doing, because it's not funny and there's nothing about it that's respectful. And if it don't do it to you, they're going to come do it to me, and I'm going to be the one that's getting harmed because of something you doing. And he still does it. When I ask him, hey, have you been doing XYZ? No, I don't even do stuff like that. And then I have people messaging me telling me that he's doing it. I don't appreciate that, because I don't think that way. I don't talk that way. And I don't condone those types of behaviors. As of recently, I told him, don't come around me. You can't come around me. You can't be near me, because I'm not about to be caught up in no foolishness for you or anything like that. A lot of people may say, oh, it's his mama's fault. He's 20 years old. Been telling this brother, this young man, my son, to get help forever. He said he don't need no help. I can't make a 20-year-old go to therapy. I can't make him do it. He refuses to do it because he said there's nothing wrong with him and he doesn't need any help. So, whatever happens to him, happens to him. He made his bed, so now he has to lie in it. But from me, I feel ashamed. I'm very disappointed. It's disgusting. And I'm sorry to the people that have been affected by the things that he has said over the years and has done with harassing people and constantly antagonizing people. Because enough is enough.
What's up, Ebony?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
That's good. I just wanted to bring you actually out here so we can talk about one of the documentaries I'm doing is called Consent. It's around women and having body autonomy and being able to say no to men. Since I know that you're an advocate and you work with young kids and you advocate for, children has been sex trafficked and things like that. And there's this topic on social media that everybody's talking about. Well, specifically men are saying women who, you know, indulge in sex work don't have the right to consent. And I wanted to know, what was your thought about that?
My thoughts around consent when it comes to women that are in sex work is that it's like a choice of no choices. So they do understand that getting involved in this particular life, some of them understand getting involved in this lifestyle, there's going to be some violence that's going to happen. Some of them don't know though. And so what about those young ladies or those young kids who don't know about getting into the lifestyle and knowing that consent is something that men avoid or that they don't consider when it comes to this particular lifestyle of sex trafficking or sex work. That's my idea around it. I think that it gets lost in translation when someone's being paid for a sex act and they think that they own that person. So I think it's important for stipulations to be said and set forward, or like set out rather, before you actually engage into some type of sex work. Like, so if you're gonna have a date or go on an out call or in call with somebody, you need to know that this person has a review, or this person has been spoken for by other girls, and so that way you know you can kind of trust this person. But even then, you still don't really know, right? And so what I would say to the men out there is that anytime you lay down with a girl, whether you're paying for it or not, you're raping her, because ultimately she wouldn't have sex with you for free. So she is definitely putting herself in a situation to be raped, but it doesn't mean that that's what she wants. It doesn't mean that that's okay. She still has rights. She's still a human being. She's still a person, and she shouldn't be treated that way.
That's completely understandable. How do you feel about what do you see, especially with young teenage girls in high school and boys? Have you ever had those conversations about, you know, the young girls trying to figure out how to go about it, how to be strong and be able to say no and not be coerced into situations?
Yeah, it's been really difficult, especially with the climate of music and the type of things that are being pushed out in media. A lot of the young girls, unfortunately, are trying to figure out the difference between play fighting, or like, is a person just trying to get my attention, does he like me, or is this respectable or not? Not really having a full understanding of what boundaries are and what that means to be able to set them forward. I struggle with young girls trying to keep up with the idea of this is my body, I can do what I want with it, I can wear what I want, I can say what I want, and I should be still treated the same way. And that's the part where I'm struggling with the idea around consent too, and the idea around how does a woman project herself out in the world as being sexy, but not as a performer, just as a piece of meat, or looked at as just a piece of meat. Like, how do you like decipher between the two of those two different things, or those two different characteristics around a woman? So yeah, that's how I look at it. When it comes to the high school kids, they struggle with touch and like being able to touch each other and understanding what it means to be able to say, is it okay that I touch you? Is it okay that I hug you? You know, I grew up in the climate of like, if I smack your butt or I push you down, I like the boy, that means he likes you. And so I'm trying to change that narrative, but it starts with the young men, in my opinion. It's about teaching young men about consent and about what it means to actually respect someone's boundary, how to like someone, how to let someone know that you like them without putting your hands on them, or without sexually enticing them or wanting them to do something that's sexual.
Do you think porn plays a big role in how men see or interact with women, especially when it comes to intimacy? As like when young boys watch porn and they watch a lot of it, it almost feels like that's what they expect when it comes to, you know, intimacy with another woman, and it's just like, it just seems like it's really quick, really forceful, and I feel like porn may be playing a role in how young men interact with women. Do you think that might be, you know, a possibility?
Yeah, I think it plays a huge role, especially around sex work, because it paints this picture that this young girl likes to be choked, or she likes to be spanked, or she likes to be held down, or being called out her name, or whatever the case may be, in these role play types of formats, and it's not like that, you know. And when you go into, as a survivor of sex trafficking, I can say that it's not like that. It's not what the pornos or whatever the case may be portrays the interaction to be. It can be very scary. It can be very just uneasy, and you feel, even though you are giving this person permission to come and lay down with you, they still have this aggressiveness about them. And I think that they do get it from the pornos. They do get it from this idea, because where do they get it from? They don't get it from anything else, I wouldn't think, outside of just media in general, you know, pushing the idea that it's okay for women to be howled at or be hissed at, or, you know, it's okay for women to be pushed down, or women have to be submissive, and this idea around submissive and BDSM and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say it definitely comes from pornos, and it's not what it's cut out to be.
It's definitely, I don't think people realize it's a production.
Yeah,
I mean, even
right.
when it comes to, sex scenes in movies, it's an actual production. A lot of times women say it's uncomfortable. Some women like it. That's just, that's just what they like to do. They like the money behind it. They like the interactions and things like that. But I think when you pay attention to the actual production side of it, a lot of people say it's not even comfortable, and it's really hard to enjoy because it's a lot of cameras. It's not meaningful in certain situations. How do you see social media playing in a role when it comes to consent? I feel like social media has desensitized a lot of people, especially when COVID happened. We went 2 years without even talking to people face to face, and we just strictly was just online having communications. I think that has had an effect on just interacting with each other in general, but I think that social media has made it really accessible for people to get nudes, for men or women to send unsolicited photos. So do you think social media plays a big role in how people are interacting and not understanding what boundaries are?
Yeah, because you can paint whatever picture you want to paint on social media. Like, when it comes to people that, let's say, for example, girls who advertise themselves for sex, right? She can put out whatever image she wants to put out about herself. So she can say she's the sluttiest, most you'll experience the most pornography or the most porno girl with sexy, slow, sultry, sassy chick who's gonna let you do whatever you want to do for an hour. You know what I mean? And ultimately, when you get there, she's this little 14-year-old girl who's being held against her will and on drugs, being prostituted out here by a pimp. Or you have situations where social media is like this whole slut walk, this whole Amber Rose thing, right? This whole like Pound Town, for example, right? It's talking about, it's objectifying women. And I think that it's playing a huge part in the way that women see themselves and how they should portray themselves out in the world, and how men see them, how they treat them.
As a woman yourself, do you feel, so there's another topic that's going around on social media that, most, we're not gonna say all men are predators or they're violent, but it's just the climate that's on social media right now, where they're saying, all men are predators. You have to watch out for men, or you got to treat men like a loaded gun, because you just don't know. And like I say, I understand where women come from, because like I said, men commit the most violent crimes. Men create the most violent crimes against women, so I can understand it. And then I think there's a stat that says 1 in every 6 women will be assaulted in their lifetime. So I get the sentiment when women are like, bro, we just, you know what I mean? We just don't feel safe. But have you ever been in situations where you just felt unsafe just being around men, just in general, when you're not with other people?
I can say, because of my history of interacting with certain types of men, yes, I've been fearful of my life. Like, going to the store sometimes late at night, or walking down the street really late at night, being around people of no matter really what their skin complexion is. I could say for me personally, I'm more comfortable around African-American men, because they have been the ones who have created the most trauma in my life around sexual abuse. But when it comes to like just carrying myself as a woman, depending on what I'm wearing, depending on what time it is, depending on what area I'm in, there's been times where I have feared that something could happen to me, like going to the gas station, for example, and some man walking up to me. Maybe he's just homeless and he's looking for a couple dollars or something like that, but to me, it makes me buckle up. Or a man walking up to me aggressively if I'm going out for a night out with my ladies and I have a certain outfit on. I'm a little nervous as into what could potentially happen to me, because I'm out there by myself and nobody's necessarily watching me. And on top of that, is anybody gonna really step in and help me if something's happening to me? Maybe, maybe not, I don't really know.
It must be tough being a woman.
I mean, yeah, it definitely, it can be. But I think, though, too, there's a fine line where I think that a lot of women objectify themselves and they put themselves in certain situations to be harmed. And I don't think that should be ignored. I don't think that it's okay for men to just be put in this light of victor and of this person that's just out here harming all of these people, when, in my opinion, a lot of women are putting themselves in certain situations to be harmed. It doesn't mean that it's okay that they were harmed, but I think that it should be paid attention to and it should be looked at, because it can't be ignored. Both parties can play a part.
Yeah.
And I also even want to challenge you on that domestic violence stat, because I think that a lot of times women put their hands on men. It's just that men are not that willing to come forward.
Well, yes, that's true. I can't remember the exact stat, but women hit men and then men respond. And we have those laws, that mandatory arrest law. So if you hit me, but I hit you and you have the mark, I'm
you
going
to jail.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah, and that's
so it's kind of lopsided and unfair. And I think, you know, we need to change the laws and just have more dialogue. I think when we talk about these conversations, it's extremely heated and extremely emotional, and no one is actually talking to listen, but more people are, or listen and comprehend, but more people are just trying to listen to argue back. Speaking of sexual abuse, can you talk about, you can talk about from your perspective, or you can talk about from how you deal with teenagers. What is the trauma and the mental health and the stressors that come behind that? You know, do you see, you know, I'll say, resolution to some of the girls after they go through all this? Do they heal, or is it just something that they're just going to have to live with forever?
I think it's different. The journey is different for every young woman. I've seen a lot of women, though, who've done actively the introspective work, a lot of the shadow work, that if they've done that, they've been in therapy, they've taken accountability for things, and they've been able to, like, really process through a lot of the trauma that they've been through, then I would say yes, they're definitely on their journey to healing. Will it still affect them in their relationships? Yes, it will, because there's things that are going to come up. Trauma is like an onion, you know, and it just continues. There's layers and there's layers of it. So there could be situations, even for myself, for an example, being a survivor of sexual abuse and of sex trafficking, I've been through a lot of different situations with my husband where he's had to comfort me in moments where we and him are being intimate because I'm triggered right now because he reminded me, or this moment reminded me of something that I've been through. And so he had to walk me through that process, let me know that I am safe, and now I'm recreating memories of that, being in that particular position. It could be something that small, or in this particular hotel, or in this particular, down the street, or wearing this particular outfit, and he says or grabs me a certain way, and it wasn't him being aggressive, it was just because of my trauma. And so I would say that yes, women can heal. It's just men unfortunately are in a space where they have to be patient with those women, because you just never know what's going to trigger her and cause her to go back to that place. The things that I've seen most commonly that I feel like women have struggled the most with is this idea of, like, how do I feel sexy and still be considered a woman and still be considered respected. I think that a lot of young women, they want to dress a certain way and they want to talk a certain way and do certain things that men look at them a certain way around. And so it's trying to get women to understand, like, what depends on what kind of woman you want to be. Do you want to be a wife? Then you have to show yourself as one. And so I think that's the struggle when we talking to a lot of the young teenagers, the young women anyway, is that how do I still be young, fly, and sexy and sassy, but still be respected as a woman by men? And that's the struggle even that I'm having the conversation with them to this day.
Yeah. I just want to say I appreciate you for being vulnerable with me and then actually having this conversation. I think, like I said before, these conversations need to be had even more. And I would look to, you know, being able to educate. This is why I wanted you to be here, is because you actually work in this field and you actually talk to young men and women, and you've been through a lot of things that these kids can relate to you with. So I think it's good that we have someone like you who can relate to these children and talk to them and pour into them and give them encouragement. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you.
No problem.
So me and Ebony was talking off camera, and she asked me the question, when do you think consent starts? And I was like, it was kind of a question I couldn't answer. I was like, I don't know when you're taught consent, like when does it start? And I didn't have an answer for it. And she was like, think about it. She was like, think back when you was a kid. And she said this to me, and it made so much sense and it clicked. She was like, think back when you was a kid and your parents used to make you hug people that you were uncomfortable of hugging. And I was like, it just made so much sense. And then I started thinking back, like, you know, in our own family, you know, if it's your mom or your dad, think about you in your own life. And when it was either your mom or your dad and there was an uncle or a cousin or a family friend that came over and, you know, you didn't want to hug him, but your mom or your dad was like, go ahead and hug him, girl. You know, that's your cousin, or that's your uncle, and this, and you just uncomfortable, and your parents made you hug someone you were uncomfortable with. So then it just started making sense. I was like, I started thinking about my family and some of the, you know, when you be at the barbecue, and then some people just feel weird, you know, or don't want to be around a certain person, but yet and still your parents make you hug that person, and it just like in your mind, it's kind of setting this this tone or this boundary where, you know, you have to, you know, give yourself to people or open up yourself to people you don't even like physically. And it just made so much sense and it clicked. And I think now, you know, if, you know, you guys should think about, you know, in your family or when you were a child, you know, when you were forced to hug someone, when you were completely uncomfortable hugging that person. And it just made so much sense. And I was just like, yo, like, she kind of messed my brain up with that one. But, you know, I really appreciate her being a part of this because she has so much insight, you know, and, you know, she works with children and things like that. So it was just, she's just always in this mode of, you know, digging deeper and diving deeper into trauma and why you do you know, why people respond the way they respond. So, like I say, I really appreciate her being a part of this. But yeah, you guys think back in your lives and, you know, kind of start, you know, digging into what, you know, how consent was, how consent was relayed to you or how it should be. But yeah, messed my brain up.
Hold on, Momo. You just said in the very beginning that you did do it, that you did show other women nudes. Now you're saying you didn't show Momo anything at all?
No, I'm not denying that I didn't show any. I'm saying I don't remember sending them to Momo or showing them to Momo.
Zeno, state your age. How old are you, Zeno? State your
33.
age. You know Momo just turned 21? Why the fuck are you sending her nudes as young as she is?
What he'll do is everybody has iPhones. We all have screen share. And what he'll do is he will show us through screen share.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll be on the phone and he'll be like, oh, he'll grab his other phone because Zeno does have two phones. He'll grab his other phone and be like, oh, look what I got. And then he'll flash a picture and then.
Okay, cool.
Doesn't matter. That's still fucking nasty.
Right. I just don't want him to be able to wiggle out of anything. Is that true, Zeno? Speak up. Don't shake your fucking head. Speak up.
Yes, it's true.
Exactly. So don't sit here and play semantics with these women. And you know you did this shit, man. That's the whole point that I was making. I'm sorry, Momo. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Are you fucking kidding me? What are you doing? What are you getting off on?
Yeah, why? Can you explain why? The dignified answer, not even dignified. Can you at least be a man and explain why you're doing this and why you're lying?
Honestly, no, I can't.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Oh,
Like
no.
that-
Hell no. You are going to speak up. Why did you do this to these women? You're not about to wiggle out of this. Why?
I'm not trying to wiggle out of anything I don't have.
So you just thought it was okay to send other women's nudes out to other people? With absolutely no thought.
You with something private.
Like, does this
They
make you
trusted you
feel
with
good
something
about yourself?
private.
Do you feel good about yourself right now?
Not at all.
Hey, Terry, nice for you to meet me today. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad you had the courage enough to come talk to me about, you know, your situation on TikTok about Zeno sharing your nude photos. Can you just give me a quick brief, you know, summary of how you and Zeno met?
Okay. Well, I joined TikTok around 2021 and I wasn't really like, you know, TikTok savvy or anything like that. And I didn't know that you could view lives from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had jumped in a live of a certain creator and immediately got called out for it in a different live. And Zeno had messaged me and he was like, I can help you. He was like, I know somebody that can, you know, ease it for you if you want and ease the problem for you. Give me your number and we can call that person on three-way and I was like, okay, thank you so much, because I've never been any problems or anything like that. I was like, I immediately got scared when I got called out. I was like, oh my God, I didn't mean to cause any problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called me on three-way with that person, and we became friends with that person and him. And I didn't know that he was going to call me. He was supposed to give my number to that person, and that person was going to call me, but he kept my number. And he would sometimes check up on me and things like that. And I was like, random, because I'm married. But I was like, okay, no problem. And so then he introduced me to other people, and we all became a group, like a friend group.
Okay.
So that's how it all started.
When did you first find out that he shared personal photos of you with just random people online?
That live.
That live. Oh, wow.
Actually, no, let me take that back. I started hearing he got angry with me, and I started hearing threats I knew he took a screenshot of, I had an OnlyFans.
Okay.
And I had private Snapchat for my OnlyFans. And he took a screenshot of those pictures. And I questioned him on that. I confronted him on that, and then I blocked him on my Snapchat. I didn't know that he kept them. And that was over a year ago. And the reason I know it was over a year ago is because I had hair in those pictures.
Okay.
And I shaved my head in October due to medical issues. So in those pictures, I had hair, and I shaved my head in October. So he held on to those pictures for over a year.
Wow.
So back in, I'm going to say, I don't know when, I started hearing him threaten me when he got angry with me. I started hearing him in live say, I have a folder of naked pictures. And if this woman pisses me off, I'm going to expose them. And I knew he was talking about me. I just couldn't prove it.
Wow.
And I couldn't do anything about it. I just had to wait for something to happen.
Yeah.
I told people about it. People were
aware. Yeah.
Yeah, people were aware of it, and we were just waiting. We were waiting to see if he was going to do anything. He was saying it in a couple of lives. A couple of people came up to me and were like, what is going on? But nothing, he wasn't doing anything. But the day that I found, I got off the live. I got off of TikTok for 3 months. And actually, yeah, 3 months. And when I came back was on that live. And that's the day that I found out that he had shown my naked pictures to probably almost over 40 people.
That's heavy. To him to make threats about releasing it, that's technically revenge porn. So yeah. I think so when you're saying you were waiting for him to actually do it in order to be able to take legal actions against him. The live that everybody confronted him in, because I saw him in a live. You didn't come into the live until probably maybe 30 minutes after I got invited to the live, because everybody's like, hey, Derrick, you need to come in here. There's some victims in here. We would like you to tell, to put this on Front Street. And I was like, I was kind of hesitant because there's so much stuff that happens on TikTok that it's kind of hard to, gauge if anything is true. And then we're not all in the same city or state. So it's hard to actually, find out correct information. But when you got in the live and then I saw him admit to the things that he were doing, then that's when I knew it was completely real. That was the first time I've ever seen anybody on TikTok, admit to predatory activities and then, admitting to revenge porn and admitting that they've been releasing photos of women that he didn't have permission to do, which, comes into this documentary that I'm doing now called Consent. I think your story is one of the stories that, most people need to hear, because a lot of times that we don't give victims the credibility online because we weren't there to actually see it. And, there's so much that happens on social media that's kind of hard to believe. What I noticed, though, one of the things that caught my attention when we were talking, in that live, people were talking about his manipulation when it comes to threatening to hurt himself. And he would always hear a gun cock and he'd say, I'm going to hurt myself if, you guys don't, interact with me anymore or continue to act like we have a situationship. Did you encounter him threatening his own life?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
He would, as I mentioned, I'm married. I had problems with my husband. I told him that I was getting therapy with my husband, and he was like, oh, that's fine. But if you plan on working things out, sorry about that. If you plan on doing that, then I'm going to kill myself. He would send me pictures of him cutting himself. Just if I would upset him. He was planning a trip to my city without my permission. Just because I was like, no, that's not okay. It was, and if I said no, he would say he was going to hurt himself. He was going to unalive himself. He was going to kill himself.
In those moments, how'd that make you feel? Like, did it make it feel like you were, you would be responsible for his actions? Okay.
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
I continued to talk to him, because if I didn't, I would feel like that would be the end of him. I felt like I would be responsible for him because he knew my situations in the past. He knew my mental state. And if I hung up the phone on him, I felt like what would happen? That I would be responsible for him killing himself. And he knew that. He knew that he could do that to me. Like it was horrible. And every single time he knew that he could do that to me.
Wow.
And full disclosure, I tried to kill myself in January. And he knew that he could play this card with me constantly.
Wow.
And it was horrible to me. Horrible.
Yeah, there's even more to the story that I wasn't even privy of. Okay. Whew. Going through all that, and then you just, you said you tried to, commit suicide in January. With all that, one, I would say I'm still glad you're still here.
Thank you.
Continue to be strong. You are definitely wanted in the world. I know, sometimes we can go through life and situations will, beat us down a lot and make us feel unworthy. But keep fighting a good fight. There are people here in your family that want you still around. So don't give up on that. With all that going on, I know social media is a ruthless place, especially to victims. Can you tell me about the experiences that you had when you started speaking out about what he did to you?
The very first time when it first started with him was last year. I started speaking to a friend of mine, and I was like, I'm very uncomfortable. He's making me very uncomfortable. We we confronted him on TikTok, on live. Nobody believed us. He turned it, he twisted it, and said that I was accusing him of sexual harassment and lying on him. And he had, everywhere I turned, everywhere I went, I was the liar. Even though I had all that proof, I had everything. I had messages from him. I had pictures. I had everything. Nobody wanted to see it. Nobody wanted to. I was just the liar. Nobody wanted anything. So it felt like a brick wall every time I turned around. So I just gave up. But every time I went into a live, I was, oh, you're that girl that accused him of sexual harassment. You're that girl. You're that girl. You're that girl. So, he called me and told me that if I played nice and stopped having my friends call him, and stopped with the accusations and stopped, that he would call off his people. I was like, okay, I give up. I give up. So I had to play nice with him. I lost so many friends. I lost my friends. My friends started looking at me like, what are you doing? Why are you being nice to him? I had to, because if I didn't, it was like there were lives being held about me, calling me a drug addict, calling me racist, calling me everything if I didn't stop accusing this man of doing what he was doing. Everything. His friends were nonstop attacking me, and if I didn't stop accusing him of what he was doing to me, then he wasn't going to stop coming after me, and his friends weren't going to stop coming after me. So I had to stop. So I stopped. And like I said, I lost so many friends. I lost the greatest friends that I had from when I started TikTok. Luckily, some of my friends stood by me still, and luckily I made some new friends that helped me start building back up to come back after him. But it was rough. It was really rough for a few, and I would leave the app and come back and leave the app and come back, and he wouldn't leave me alone. He still wouldn't leave me alone. He would tell his friends that it was me bothering him. Meanwhile, it was him nonstop messaging me. Like, as I said, I provide receipts. I have all the messages, the labor, everything. And
yeah, you do have them because you sent them to me. And I think with having all that information, it just surprises me how so many people still don't want to believe once you showing, you're like, hey, look, I have the photos, these are timestamped, these are the messages, these are my messages. And not only are you're being transparent because you're not blocking out your messages.
Yeah.
You're showing everything. So, I find it's just it's like social media is not a real place because, people just do whatever they want on social media and there's never any consequences. So I just feel like people are emboldened to act a particular way online because they know, most people don't have the money to, get a lawyer and to go after someone. So they know like, hey, I'm in a whole different state. Even if they do, file a police report, it's not going to travel across state lines. If they do get a lawyer, they have to find a lawyer that it's either can practice in different states or they have to get a lawyer in that state. So it's a hassle when you're trying to go after someone and, retaining a lawyer is quite expensive. I will say, though, I'm proud of some of the large content creators that came out because I know that Zeno tried to weaponize his proximity to, you know, a couple, you know, large content creators that I'm actually mutuals with as well. And in that live, they came out and, you know, they disowned that and they, you know, held him accountable for that. I will say, you know, on half of, I know it's not all men, but I do want to say, you know, it starts with us, you know, men in his group that knew he was doing this should have spoken up about it. Like, hey, like, you know, you're in the wrong with this. You shouldn't be doing these type of things. Stop weaponizing, you know, other people followers to go after, you know, this young lady. So, you know, we have a part to play in it as well. So even though I didn't know Zeno, you know, I wasn't part of his group. Men are going to take the blame for it, you know, just collateral, it's just, you know, collateral damage on us because there are men who actually do this. And then if we have these men in our group or we're friends with them and we don't say anything, sometimes, you know, we're kind of just as guilty as the actual person who's doing the harm to others, because we do need to stand up and say, hey, like, don't do that. Or, you know, what you're doing is predatory, it's harmful, and you can go to jail for things like that. So I think when people start getting consequences behind the stuff that they're doing online, I think a lot of that would change. I will also say, you know, just dealing with this documentary and listening to women who've been assaulted in real life, I think it's important that women do things to protect themselves, as getting a firearm. Because you don't really know, even though you might not say it's all men and you might not be scared of all men, you just do not know, you know. And what Zeno did is he played bait and switch, then he played a victim, and then he played manipulator. And, you know, so you just never really know who you're going to meet in real life and online. Online, I think it's worse because now you have people doxing you. You have people having your phone numbers. Now they're trying to show up to your home, and everything lives online forever. So, you know, it's a lot different than dealing with each other in person. So I will, you know, I like to apologize and just say, you know, I'm sorry that, you know, I came into the situation a lot later, because you know that I've been doing documentaries on a lot of trauma that's been going on social media. So if I would have caught your story a little earlier, I definitely would have, you know, amplified your voice. So you've been through a lot, and like, what are your plans just moving forward? Or I would say, what would be a message that you would give women who, you know, tend to, you know, create these bonds on social media with people? It doesn't even matter if it's male or female, because I know, you know, everybody can be vindictive on social media. Like, just moving forward, what would you think would be a message that you would give, you know, to women or men about creating these type of bonds on social media?
The trauma bonding. Watch out for trauma bonding. I know it's really easy to do that on social media because we always look for the friendship, but sometimes it can lead you into something you really don't want. That's how he got us a lot. That's how he got into me. That's how he got hooked into me, especially. He knew how to get to me, and I think that's how he got a lot of his victims. He trauma bonded, and I think I see it a lot online, especially in the lives where we all trauma bond, and I worry sometimes because it I don't want that to happen to anybody else. Because I think that's how people get their victims from, because that's how they get in good with everybody. You can manipulate someone so easily when you know where to get their weaknesses from.
Yes.
And I just want everybody to be careful when if you trauma bond with someone, male or female, especially males, especially males that also are go into groups with all females and they want to trauma bond with a bunch of females. That's not good. Watch, please, like, women, ladies, watch yourselves, because that's a red flag right there. That's a major red flag.
Yeah, I see a lot of trauma bonding, and I understand that, victims get together and they build a community, but oftentimes I don't think that community they are equipped to handle certain situations, certain traumas, because there's a lot of trauma bonding, there's a lot of trauma dumping on each other. And I think that it'd be more beneficial. You guys you can have that community, but I think it'd be a better community if everybody in the community were encouraging each other to seek therapy. Because, mentally, I don't think a lot of people are equipped to handle those situations or give the advice to be able to, work through and heal through those situations. But I do understand the community behind it. So I don't want to discourage, people and victims getting together to tell their stories, to bring awareness. But I also think that they also should encourage each other to get therapy, because that's the only way to dig deeper, because there could be traumas that, I always say there's a broken child in each adult. And we grow up with trauma as a child, and we're just still trying to function as adults, but we never healed what happened to us as children. So it affects our decision making and our emotions, as we're growing into adults. So I think it's important that we all encourage each other to seek therapy, outside of just, what people say on TikTok or Instagram.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I know you're busy. I do, like I say, I want to say I appreciate you just coming and being able to speak to me. Like I say, if I would have known, this story earlier, I would have flew to you and we could have had this conversation in person. But, the next best thing is, still being able to amplify your voice, even if it's through Zoom. So keep your head up. Don't allow this to, change who you are or taint who you are. There are evil people out here, and I just say sorry that you went through that, and you shouldn't have went through that. And providing evidence, people should have believed you and not just, went after you in the way they did.
I'd like to also point out that I never spoke to that man in any sexual manner, as you saw, as I provided. There was a lot of misconstrue about that. There's a lot of misconception about that. I never spoke to that man in any sexual manner. I never. That was a false narrative that he provided with people. I want that put out there, please.
Yeah, it's definitely I don't, like I say, I don't chop up. The reason why a lot of my episodes are so long is because I allow everything to play out. I try my hardest not to, chop or take things out. So, and like I say, I'll give you a copy of this as well. So, you can have this. So,
that was one of the narratives that he put out that I would love. I need that put out there. That man, I never spoke to that man in any sexual manner, and I provided the proof of that.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I spoke to that man like he was a friend, and I joked around to like him, and as weird as those text messages were, I was bluntly with you in those text messages that I provided.
Yes, you were. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. As far as, like I say, when I show some of the text messages, personal information will be blocked out, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's the main thing, is protecting, your space and your peace, and just your safety in general, because people will find ways to find out where we stay. And
everybody knows. I've been doxxed so many times. Everybody knows where I live now. It's been an adventure the last year and a half.
That's why I say, ladies, get a firearm. because you just never know. You know, someone, I've witnessed things and people, you know, going to individuals' homes and vandalizing their homes. So, you know, social media is not a safe space. And when people say we creating safe spaces on TikTok or Instagram, don't believe it.
There's no safe
There's
space
no
on
such thing as
TikTok.
safe space on online, on
Nope.
the internet in general. So whatever you do moving forward, you know, for the individuals that, you know, use social media, do your best to keep your numbers, your cash apps, you know, separate those. Don't use your actual emails, create an email specifically for, you know, your Instagram or your cash apps or any of the links that you have. Don't tag them to your personal things like that. But like I say, I appreciate you. I won't keep you. And I just want to say thank you for coming on and speaking with me.
Thank you very much, Derek. I appreciate you.